Hey fire signs, welcome to Eight of Cups Tarot and welcome to your full moon reading. This is for my Aries, Sag, and Leos. And this is kind of capturing the energy that we're dealing with for this Libra full moon that starts tomorrow. The energy lasts about a month. And this full moon is really special because it's really the closing, officially the closing of an old cycle, an old way in which we went about partnerships and relationships. Not any surprise, all of my readings have come across as relationship kind of focused. Now that can be a love relationship, it can be a work partnership, it could be a parent, a kid, a friend, you know, I'm not saying just a love relationship. So what happened is the previous cycle of Saturn and Pluto went conjunct in the sign of Libra back in 1982 and 1983. And we carried out that energy for the past many years. So this is a closing out of a near 40-year cycle. And what happens is the new energy is introduced and we're starting to adjust in the new ways. Now Saturn and Pluto have started a new cycle, and this is the first full moon in Libra that doesn't have that heavy energy behind it. So possibilities in relationships become renewed. There is a renewing energy and a healing energy, maybe an understanding. And Uranus is very involved in this full moon energy. So I expect that there are many downloads, awakenings, realizations, no matter how they come to you. Sudden wake-up calls and the way that we do things, and maybe stepping into a different type of energy. And that's what this full moon's doing for you. Now you're coming out as the Knight of Wands. And your environment is that of the Empress. A lot of fire here. But there's a few things that are coming to mind right away. First of all, the Knight of Wands has a lot of fire and drive and ambition. But the Knight of Wands is a little young and eager and immature. And sometimes the Knight of Wands can go after a conquest just for the sake of a conquest. Love can be somewhat disposable. There's a level of performance with the Knight of Wands in which he's able to adapt and be whatever he needs to be in order to get what he wants. And typically the Knight of Wands, there's an element of once they get what they want, they lose interest. And that's exactly what's happening here, because the Knight of Wands is actually moving in the other direction of the Empress. Problem being is the Knight of the Wands and the Empress can never actually connect. And here's why. The Knight of Wands, it's an immature energy. It's too fast moving and it's too easily destructible. It's a little too temperamental. It's easy to scare away. It's not dependable. It's not reliable. There's not a lot of staying power. Now, there is ultimately always an extreme level of attraction from a Knight of Wands to the Empress. She sort of represents the ultimate conquest. But that can never happen because the Empress is too much in her power. Now, the Empress represents a woman in her maturity. Typically a woman who's been through, or a feminine entity, a feminine kind of quality, Doesn't have to necessarily be a woman, but this is someone who has been through a lot emotionally, and she's gained power through the emotional situations in her life. So she kind of can embody all of the queens together. She's the Queen of Pentacles, so she doesn't need or rely on anyone else for their resources. She is the Queen of Cups, so she is capable of unconditional love. She is also the Queen of Swords, so she speaks the truth. She speaks for what she stands for. And the Wands is a credible ability to attract what she wants to her. So as you can see, the Knight of Wands kind of is, and I don't want to say below, but on a lower vibrational level than the Empress is. The Empress has seen more, done more, and she's quite frankly too smart for the Knight of Wands energy. And you're coming out, your astrology cards are Neptune and Aquarius. So I first of all love the way that the colors talk to us. Neptune, the color green, that tells me that we're dealing with heart chakras. The opening of the heart, and Neptune is boundless. Neptune also talks about sacrifice. Neptune is kind of, it's a period of confusion, you know, and quite frankly, we're all in it, as Mercury's been in Pisces for 450 years, it feels like. I think we're all struggling. You know, nothing is stable right now. We're all feeling high and intense levels of transformation in money, in relationships, in our jobs, on every level, even in our daily routines. There's a sense of surrendering control. And Neptune can also talk about, you know, sacrificing things in the name of love or from a heart space. And when it comes out next to Aquarius, and I know, which is really lit up with orange and purple, there's a lot of crown chakra and third eye stuff going on here, which tells me that you're being very guided by your intuition, and there's an inner knowing right now that you're relying on, even if things aren't being said. Neptune is also a place where we can receive messages from different realms. Now, if you're dealing with somebody and you're struggling through relationship issues, there may be a blur in the boundaries of what energy is whose, and you want to be really careful of that. If you're dealing with a person who's depressed, you may begin to feel depressed because, again, there's a blurring of the energy, a blurring of the boundaries when Neptune is there. But there may be a sudden, you know, Uranus type of thing where you have a sudden breakthrough and an understanding. Neptune also talks about compassion. Well, you have to start to understand. You know, there's a lot of fire energy coming out in you because ultimately you become the emperor, which harnesses a lot of power as well. And as much power as you've gained over this situation, you may have felt the need to elevate yourself to that empress level. So you do have the empress and the emperor coming out together. This is very much a fated connection that we're dealing with here. And I feel like you've gone through a phase where you've had to kind of raise your vibration. You've had to grow up a little bit, maybe make some sacrifices on your part in order to harness yourself into that emperor energy. The Hanged Man in reverse next to the emperor is very much like that Neptune next to the Aquarius. There's a sudden awakening, a shift of perspective. You come out of confusion. There may be a situation and you were stuck and you didn't know how to proceed. and suddenly the answers come. And you are able to carry out the actions that need to happen at this time. The Emperor is in control of the situation. He knows how to master his emotions. The Emperor could be very stoic. So you want to be careful, because Neptune means you really have to come at this with a level of compassion and empathy for another person. Because this Empress looks like she's going through a healing phase. The person you're connecting to, Three of Swords, again with the Neptune and Pisces. Three of Swords with the Empress in reverse. Maybe in your haste, maybe your original intentions upon meeting the Empress caused disappointment. Like I said, the Knight of Wands can move very quickly, and if there was a very quick start and then a stop or a disappointment, I think the Emperor, you have to give your Empress, the other person, a little time, because she's also dealing with some heartbreak. And, if you're trying to renew or give a relationship a new start, a new beginning here, because sometimes that is also the Three of Swords in reverse, is attempting to heal a hurt within a relationship. There may be a level of triggering in which some deep emotional wounds are brought up to the surface. Also, an element of Neptune there where old hurts and wounds are brought up for healing. And I think until the Empress heals this, and actually, again with the Aquarius card showing up can often speak to us about encounters and connections, and where we connect to others, our energy helps each other to grow. Here's why I say this. The Empress card comes up twice. You come up as a Knight of Wands, and then the Emperor. It's a divine connection that's meant to come together, but there's like a series of disappointments and things that the two of you are meant to overcome, like a cleaning out of the cobwebs in order to allow new things to grow. So it may feel like a very fated connection, also represented by Neptune. 12th house, kind of past life connections. Aquarius as well represents a past life. These connections come to you in order to heal things. And it being the full moon energy and ending cycles, I think the fact that this new cycle has allowed you to step into your control, the final facet to this is having compassion for those around you that are still healing, kind of regaining their emotional balance and learning how to trust as well. And the outcome is the Sun card. And that's the best card you can get in the deck. I mean, that's absolutely the happiest of endings. But the Sun card talks about being yourself. It talks about being vulnerable. And so you might bring the energy to this connection of, okay, you're ready to build a foundation. Let's get this together. Let's get this moving. But the Emperor can be very stoic and very unemotional, which could leave the other person in a place where she feels like if there are hurts, there's no chance to talk about them in order to heal them. And there needs to be a level of compassion and forgiveness in this situation, where you both can kind of open up and say, well, you know, when you did this, it made me feel this way. And then you can explain that back and forth, and there's a growth in the communication and understanding of each other, because this is a powerful couple. When you put these two energies together, the sky is the limit. There's no end, there's no limits to what you can do. There's a lot of attraction towards each other. And in that attraction, you tend to manifest tremendous abundance. You could really capture other people's attention and teach other people. Either way, it's definitely a power couple. And, you know, the masculine may have done a lot of the healing work and regained control in areas of their life, while the feminine is still healing some emotional stuff in order for her to get back up to her level. And she may need you to not only allow her to be vulnerable, allow her to open up and talk about her emotions and her needs, but she needs you to do the same in return. Again, there's a mirroring energy. If you're coming off as cold and stoic and unemotional and extremely logical, then your other person will too. And there needs to be a balance. There needs to be the understanding that you both have to go at this as a team. And what one person needs, ultimately, you both have to address. Protection. Call back your power, cut the cords, and soul retrieval. Again, I think this talks about, first of all, the relationship is protected. And I pick that up a lot in this reading with the Sun card, the Emperor. There's a lot of major arcana on the table here, and you're in a really powerful planetary placements up here. So there's a lot of transformation, and I think the connection is being protected within the transformation. What happens is, in a relationship, one person grows, and then either the other person has to catch up to meet at that level, or it falls apart. And I think this is very much two people that are ultimately raising both of their levels continually to and for each other. This is protected, so whatever issues, emotional issues that are brought to the surface, whatever comes up, I think you'll find a balance from it. I think it'll actually bring you closer together. This is an area where the bad stuff happening will ultimately lead to the discovery of how you really feel, the strength of the connection, and where you want to go in the future. The ever unfolding rose, everybody's getting this card. Cracked open, it's happening for you, not to you. There's a need to expose a lot of emotional stuff and be vulnerable. And you're being asked to go with it. Neptune, sacrifice. You're going to have to go deep into the feels right now, which might be uncomfortable for my fire signs. You know, you may just feel like, okay, this makes sense. Let's go do this thing. Let's go start this project. But you're being held back a little bit by the need to fix things emotionally and connect together, you know, even on a more intimate level. I really feel like this is all about trust. And then the two animal energies that came up is the frog and the bee. I'm going to read them to you, but I just want to point this out. The card that came up for you, that Neptune card, I talked about that color green, the opening of the heart, okay? Whatever's happening, it is really opening your heart wide open. Where something may have started as an attraction, maybe just, you know, a primal attraction to another human being, I think, is being transformed and mutated into a much higher level. And you're just starting to see and realize the potential of what this relationship and this connection can do for you. If you see in this first card, the frog, he's kind of holding his heart inside of himself. It feels a little bit like sadness, purging, the need to release emotional fears. And it goes into the bee. And this is someone who, because the heart open, they're able to open their heart to others, to give to others, to receive love from others. And I just thought that, I just wanted to point that out. And then if you look really closely at this frog card, I'm going to get really close here. Do you see he has little purple feet? Tiny little purple feet. In this emotional place, maybe a level of emotional upheaval, comes divine inspiration. See that purple? The I know. And it tells me that even if you're in a place of emotional upheaval or in a place of healing, there is that divine intervention that's grounding you. There's a faith. There's a level of faith here that either this person has your back, that you got each other, or that you just have faith in the universe, that this is serving you in some way. Whatever you're being asked to go through is serving you. It's grounding you. It's empowering you, this experience. But whatever it is, I think that this very special connection is teaching you how to really express yourself and be vulnerable in connections. And that ultimately, if you're brave enough to step into this, if you're brave enough to allow yourself and your heart to open up, you know, all new doors are going to open to you, all new possibilities, a whole new world of fulfillment that maybe you had never been able to imagine will come in. Aquarius is, again, all about the entering, the feeling of a family, of the coming together and creating a force of community, and that's what connections do. All right, I just want to take a quick minute to read these two animal spirit cards for you. Okay, so that frog, the first one. Clearing, cleansing, and healing. The frog and the water element are almost inseparable. The frog spends its first months of life entirely within this healing element and then emerges to rest on land. But no matter how earthly the frog becomes, its need for cleansing and rejuvenation is regular. Frogs tend to become overworked and undernourished, so it's vital that such sensitive creatures practice self-care. This card serves as a reminder that water helps us cleanse, forgive, and release. Time to dive in. Frogs aren't meant to carry a heavy load. This feminine energy that you're connecting to, or the feminine side of yourself, may be really afraid to go into this healing. It might be that feeling like if you start to cry, if you start to show emotions, you won't be able to control it. But you have to understand that allowing yourself to cry, there's a cleansing to it. The purging is very symbolic, because if we don't let it express itself with tears, you know, if we don't communicate it and let it out of ourselves, then we carry all of that hurt inside and we put up walls and blockades. There's only so much you can keep inside, and if you keep the negative stuff inside and you don't allow it to come out, it can't be healed. And so this is a purging period. And then the bee. I really love this card. The more I get it, the more I love it. Earnest, hardworking, and democratic. Don't make this political. The B personality is a delight to be around, especially when there's a team project on the horizon. Bees love to work steadily and thoughtfully until the final task is complete. They are sensitive creatures, aware of many subtleties at once. Since they're artists at heart, they usually add creative details to the overall vision. For the most part, they have bustling, joyous personalities until they're too tired from all the work, and then they gripe, and then they sting. So if there's a level of frustration within the relationship, if there's one person kind of doing all of the work, you know, there could be conflict, there could be bitingness, there could be, stinging conversations, saying the hurtful things, hurting each other's feelings. And I think if you are stumbling in on that energy, then it's a pretty good indicator that there's deeper levels of emotional healing that need to occur. Anywhere where you're feeling frustrated, you're feeling friction, you feel like you're bumping up against a brick wall you can't get past, it's because there's more emotional healing that can't be avoided. And so really it's just best to get to work on dealing with it at an emotional gut level, allowing your heart to open so that you can overcome this. And you will, ultimately you will. This will be a beautiful situation. Don't be afraid to go into the emotional conversations. I think they're going to turn out a lot better than you thought they would. There might be a lot going on in your mind thinking, don't do it, it's not the time. They may not be open to it, but I think it's exactly what needs to be done. All right, my fire signs. I'll be checking in some way, shape, or form next week, but until then, I hope that you take care. I wish you the best. Have a great week. Bye.